The orbital silhouette of Zephyrion Inter-Species Academy drifted above the silver-blue nebula like an enormous ring of glass suspended in silence. From a distance, it resembled a polished halo. Up close, its corridors glowed with shifting bioluminescent signs, alien languages cycling beside standard galactic. Students from 89 species moved through the transparent walkways in organized waves, their movements forming a mosaic of colors, shapes, and kinetic styles. Floating drones hovered overhead, scanning badges and monitoring stress levels. Raya Ward stepped out of the docking tube with her pack slung over one shoulder. The human girl drew attention the way a solar flare draws sensors, unavoidable, bright, and unsettling. She kept her expression relaxed, her stride light and steady despite the gravity fluctuation near the entrance. Humans adjusted quickly, they always had. A group of crystalline students paused mid-conversation as she passed. Their refracted bodies clicked faintly, an involuntary sound produced when anxiety spiked. Raya pretended not to hear it. Another pair whispered in a low-frequency tone they thought humans couldn't detect. "She's from the Deathworld. Look at her, so calm. Their species thrives on chaos. Don't make eye contact." Raya offered a polite nod, though she doubted it would reassure them. Fear of humans wasn't new here. The Academy's briefing documents had warned incoming students that humanity evolved under constant existential pressure, resulting in unusual reflexes, dense musculature, and a stubborn tendency to survive things that should be fatal. Zephyrion valued diversity, but it also posted a holographic notice above the entrance: maintain respectful conduct around Deathworld species. Raya read it every morning. Some days it felt like a reminder, today it felt like foreshadowing. Professor Kether, a six-eyed arachnid scholar, ushered his class into the amphitheater. Raya slipped into a seat near the back, careful not to crowd the student beside her, a soft-furred Marini who flinched when she sat down. The professor tapped the air, activating a sprawling hologram of a quantum engine. "Today," he began, "we examine transitional energy routing. Who can identify the primary stability point?" Raya studied the model. She raised her hand only after several beats of silence. "Yes, human Ward." She stood so her voice could carry. "The stability point isn't the central node, but the left auxiliary loop. The central node's too volatile." A ripple of surprise passed through the class. Kether rotated the hologram. "Correct. A remarkable observation for a first year." Raya sat again, cheeks warming. She didn't enjoy attention, but answering incorrectly would have bothered her more. Precision mattered. 3 seats over, Vornak Trask watched her. The Grathorian senior leaned back, scales shimmering under the projector lights. His 4 arms folded across his chest, posture stiff with irritation. His friend sat clustered nearby, Philira, the telepathic avian whose feathers glowed faintly when she focused, Jex Wren, a silicon-based brute whose footsteps always rang like chimes, and 2 lesser-known seniors who followed Vornak more out of habit than loyalty. "Show off," one muttered. Vornak didn't reply, but the narrowing of his eyes revealed enough. Raya felt the stare and lowered her gaze to her tablet, reading the next schematic before the professor opened it. She had no interest in competing with students outside her year, especially not seniors with fragile egos. After class, she packed quickly and headed toward the transit lift. She was halfway down the corridor when Philira glided past, wings folding neatly at her sides. "You think too loudly," Philira said. Raya blinked. "I wasn't thinking anything unusual." "That's the problem." Philira's feathers glimmered. "Your mind feels silent. Like it's hiding something." Raya forced a small smile. "Maybe I'm just boring." Philira shivered and stepped aside without another word. Raya sighed. Being human was complicated enough on Earth. Out here, every detail, posture, tone, even breathing, was interpreted as danger or strategy. She'd hoped to blend in, but blending in seemed impossible when your species had a reputation for wrestling predators at age 12. Her day continued without drama. She attended xenobiology, completed a lab assignment 2 hours early, and ate lunch alone at a quiet table overlooking the nebula. She didn't mind the solitude. Noise made it harder to think, and thinking was her comfort. But by late afternoon, something felt off. A message blinked onto her datapad. Raya Ward, report to Maintenance Deck 7 for required reassessment. No signature. No departmental seal. Just a location and directive. She frowned. Reassessments weren't done midweek, and maintenance decks were restricted to engineering teams. Still, ignoring an official notice felt reckless. She gathered her things and headed toward the lower levels, descending through quieter corridors where student traffic thinned. The air grew cooler as she approached Deck 7. Dim lights flickered against metallic walls. The hum of machinery echoed in long, hollow tones. When she stepped inside, the heavy door slid shut behind her with a finality she didn't like. "Hello?" Raya called. No answer. The deck stretched ahead in a skeletal maze of suspended walkways and dormant engines. Shadows pooled under the scaffolding. Raya scanned the area, heart rate steady but alert. Nothing seemed out of place, until the overhead shutters slammed down, sealing the exits. Her pulse tightened. 5 figures stepped out from behind a cluster of equipment crates. Vornak led the group, arms crossed, expression sharpened with smug satisfaction. Philyra hovered behind him, feathers dim under the low light, while Jex's crystalline bulk glinted like dark glass. Raya exhaled slowly. So this wasn't a reassessment. Vornak grinned. "You catch on quickly for a first year." "I'd prefer if you open the doors," she replied. "I have evening coursework." "You won't need it," Jex rumbled. Raya adjusted her stance, not aggressive, not fearful, simply balanced. "What exactly do you want?" Vornak stepped forward, lowering his voice. "To remind the Academy that humans aren't special. You don't belong here." Raya met his gaze without flinching. "I'm not looking for trouble." "Good," he said. "Because we already found you." The shutters locked with a hiss. The sound carried through the empty deck like a warning bell. Raya straightened her shoulders. "All right," she murmured. "What now?" Vornak's smirk widened. "Now," he said, "we see what a Deathworlder can really do." And for the first time that day, Raya understood why the entrance warnings existed. The maintenance deck's lights hummed overhead, a low vibration running along the metal beams. The air smelled faintly of coolant and ionized dust. Raya stood still, eyes steady, watching the 5 seniors spread out with practiced familiarity. They had prepared this. They expected her to panic. Instead, she inhaled once and let her shoulders relax. Vornak raised his upper right arm, activating a wrist timer. A luminous countdown flickered into existence, 10.0 seconds. "This should be entertaining," he said. "Try not to fall apart too quickly." Raya tilted her head. "A countdown? That seems unnecessary." Philyra's wings rustled, her tone sharp. "Speak less. Move when the clock hits 0. "I wasn't planning to move at all," Raya answered calmly. Jex snorted, the sound echoing through the cavernous deck. "She talks like she's already won something." Raya didn't blink. "I just want to leave without anyone getting hurt." Vornak sneered. "That depends on you, human." The timer beeped and dropped to 10. Raya's breath slowed. The world didn't shrink or blur. It sharpened. Second 10. Vornak's muscles tensed first. Nerves under his scale plates twitched, a subtle tremor most aliens missed. Raya didn't. His stance revealed intention, a heavy forward rush, right shoulder leading. Raya catalogued it silently. Second 9. Philyra stepped left, positioning herself at a diagonal angle for a telepathic strike. Her feathers pulsed faintly. Raya felt the shift before any mental pressure hit her. Telepaths always believed humans were vulnerable. Philyra's confidence showed it. Second 8. Jex planted his crystalline feet, preparing for a wide circle sweep. His species used mass and momentum to overpower opponents, but his lower leg alignment looked off balance. If she sidestepped at the correct moment, his weight would betray him. Raya stored the observation. Second 7. The two minor seniors moved behind her, attempting to cut off retreat. Their boots scraped lightly. They assumed she would try to run. She wouldn't. Second 6. The deck vibrated, Vornak's first footfall. Heavy. Predictable. Raya whispered, "Please don't force this." Philyra hissed. "Stop pretending you're harmless." Second 5. Raya shifted her stance by a fraction. Just enough to redirect force. Not enough for them to notice. Her heart rate stayed level. Second 4. Philyra's feathers brightened. Telepathic pressure gathered like static. Jex rolled his shoulders, preparing to lunge. Raya kept her hands at her sides. Second 3. "I'll ask one last time," Raya said softly. "Let me walk away." Vornak laughed. "At 0, we're teaching you a lesson." Second 2. The last moment of stillness. Raya committed her plan to instinct, not thought. Thinking slowed movement, instinct freed it. The timer glowed brighter. Second 1. Vornak roared and charged. Jex followed with a crushing sweep. Philyra released a mental strike. The two students behind her leapt. The timer hit 0. The 10-second 0.9, Vornak. Raya stepped 5 centimeters right, tapping Vornak's inner forearm with 2 fingers. The strike was barely forceful, but it compressed a nerve bundle that controlled upper limb coordination. His 4 arms spasmed simultaneously, momentum redirecting him into a steel railing. His head bounced off the bar with a dull thud. Vornak collapsed, stunned, breath knocked out of him. Raya didn't pause. Second 0.7, Philyra. The avian's telepathic wave hit a fraction behind her attack. Raya didn't block it, she shifted her mind's focus the way soldiers once did during sensory overload. The mental push fizzled, not harming her but disorienting Philyra. Confusion disrupted the avian's concentration. Raya pivoted, slamming her palm against an emergency acoustic emitter. A focus tone burst erupted, subtle to humans, overwhelming to avian ears. Philyra shrieked and folded, wings trembling violently before she hit the ground. Second 0.5, Jex. The crystalline brute swung a heavy arc. Raya ducked under it, letting the momentum carry him forward. His species' bodies amplified motion, but lacked natural braking ability. When he overextended, she snapped her hand against a stabilizer panel on the floor. The magnetic plate activated instantly. Jex's crystalline form collided with it, locking him in place with a metallic clank. He thrashed, startled, and immobilized. Second 0.4, the 2 remaining seniors. Both students leapt toward her, one aiming for her shoulders, the other for her back. Raya twisted between them, letting their trajectories intersect. Their bodies collided midair, limbs tangling in confusion. Raya nudged them aside with controlled force, sending them tumbling across the deck floor. Second 0.2, reset. Silence. The entire maneuver lasted less than a heartbeat. 5 seniors now lay incapacitated, none seriously injured, all completely overwhelmed. Raya exhaled slowly. Her pulse remained steady. Her hands hadn't clenched once. She brushed a smear of dust off her sleeve and looked around the deck, ensuring no one else planned a misguided surprise. The space remained still. The maintenance door suddenly hissed open. 2 instructors rushed in, followed by 3 security drones. Their optics scanned the scene in rapid bursts. One instructor froze. "What happened here?" Raya pointed mildly at the group on the floor. "They cornered me. I didn't want to fight." The drones projected holographic logs. Severe structural vibrations detected. High-speed motion recorded. Raya blinked. "I moved normally." The drones disagreed. The footage looped on a small screen, blurred streaks, bodies collapsing in fractions of seconds, sound spikes near the emergency panels. To the untrained eye, it looked like teleportation. Philira groaned weakly from the floor. She moved faster than my mind could follow, she whispered. Vornak's voice cracked. She didn't even hit hard. Jex remained stuck to the magnetic plate, too embarrassed to speak. The instructors exchanged uneasy glances. Human Ward, one said carefully, we need you to come with us. Raya nodded. Of course. I didn't intend harm. We know, the instructor replied. That's what worries us. Raya stepped out of the maintenance deck, escorted by drones. Behind her, the seniors remained sprawled across the floor, fear replacing arrogance. As the door slid shut, one murmured a whisper that carried through the chamber. She didn't attack us. She survived us. Another answered, voice trembling. 10 seconds. That's all it took. Raya followed the instructors down the corridor, posture composed. She wished the incident had ended before it began. She wished the message had been real. She wished she could have expressed what she truly felt. Humans weren't made to intimidate others. They were made to endure what most species avoided. But inside the Academy's whisper network, a new rumor formed instantly. The Deathworld girl didn't fight. She simply moved, and the seniors vanished. And Raya, quiet as ever, walked toward the disciplinary hall, unaware that those 10 seconds had already reshaped the Academy's unspoken rules. The corridor leading to the Administrative Council burned with a sterile glow, each light panel humming in a fixed rhythm. Raya walked between two security drones, their lenses whirring softly as they scanned her posture, breathing, and vitals. Neither instructor nor machine spoke. Silence hung heavy, an unspoken recognition that the situation had veered far beyond a disciplinary matter. The doors slid open, revealing a circular chamber layered with hollow screens, floating displays, and dignitaries from 8 different species seated around a raised platform. The air bristled with unease. Raya felt it the moment she stepped forward. Human Ward, Chancellor Cyril began, her voice firm but cautious, please take a seat. Raya sat with her back straight, hands folded neatly. I'm ready to answer any questions. A brief flicker of surprise crossed the Chancellor's expression. She had expected defensiveness, not composure. A tall, glass-skinned Rill Elder tapped a console. We have reviewed preliminary footage. What we witnessed defies expected human parameters. His tone wavered. Perhaps you can explain. Raya glanced at the floating display. Footage played in silent loops, blurred streaks, 5 seniors collapsing, bodies flying in disjointed arcs. She barely recognized herself in the chaotic sequence. I didn't move that fast, she said quietly. That, the elder replied, is the troubling part. Another counselor leaned forward, a towering Zephyrion whose tendrils shimmered with agitation. Why did you attack the seniors? I didn't attack them, Raya answered. They shut the doors and started a countdown. I acted only after they charged. The Chancellor nodded. We confirmed the message sent to you was falsified. Raya sighed. I suspected it wasn't official, but ignoring a summons seemed irresponsible. The Rill Elder interjected, your restraint is noted. However, the speed and precision you displayed, were those intentional? No, Raya replied. They were automatic. Several counselors exchanged uneasy glances. Automatic? Cyril repeated. Raya hesitated, then explained, humans evolved under constant environmental threats. Our reflexes respond faster when we feel trapped. I didn't think. My body reacted. Your body reacted, muttered the Zephyrion. To 5 trained seniors attacking simultaneously? Raya exhaled softly. I didn't want to hurt them. That, the Chancellor said, is the only reason this hearing isn't already a formal accusation. The security footage paused on a single frame, Raya's silhouette blurred mid-motion, hand extended, Vornak's massive form already falling. Cyril folded her hands. We do not wish to penalize self-defense, especially when the seniors instigated the encounter. But the Academy must ensure safety for all species. Including you. Raya blinked. Me? There will be retaliation fears, the counselor said. Misguided students may attempt to challenge you, either out of pride or stupidity. We must prevent unnecessary incidents. A quiet warmth tugged behind Raya's sternum, not pride, but sadness. She never tried to frighten anyone. What do you need from me? She asked. Honesty, Cyril replied. Transparency about your capabilities. Raya chose her words carefully. I can't list my instincts. They show up under stress. But I won't start fights, and I won't escalate them. I want to finish my education peacefully. The Chancellor studied her for a long moment. We believe you. The tension in the room thinned, but unease lingered in the air, an undercurrent that could not be dismissed. Very well, Cyril said. We will proceed with our conclusion. She activated a panel. A notification appeared on a screen. Status, defensive response, justified. Disciplinary action, none. Raya bowed her head slightly. Thank you. We're not done, Cyril added. There is one more matter. Lights dimmed as a larger projection activated, security analysis from multiple angles, slowed to a crawl. Raya's movements were examined frame by frame. Even this microscopic inspection failed to fully clarify what had happened. Some frames contained her silhouette twice, blurred and displaced in ways the camera could not explain. The real elder whispered, your speed exceeds our upper calibration thresholds. I promise I didn't intend that, Raya said. Humans prefer not to show off. Then please continue not showing off, he replied, a subtle tremor in his voice. Cyril deactivated the projection. This incident will not reflect poorly on you. However, for the safety of all students, we're implementing a new policy. A new notice flickered across the room. Academy Directive 14B. Respectful conduct toward human students is mandatory. Provoking Deathworld species will result in suspension. Raya's eyebrows rose. Is that necessary? Yes, Cyril said. Because some will ignore warnings until consequences appear. Raya wanted to argue, but the fatigue in the council's eyes revealed the truth. This was not punishment. It was protection. You may return to your quarters, Cyril said gently. We appreciate your cooperation. Raya stood, offered a respectful nod, and walked out. The hallway felt wider now, quieter, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Outside the council chamber, murmurs echoed from across the campus. Raya didn't need heightened senses to catch fragments. She flattened them without trying. Vornak won't stop shaking. Did you see the footage? She blurred. I'm never sharing a lab with a human again. She warned them. They ignored her. Raya quickened her pace, keeping her eyes forward. Near the atrium, she found a small Marini girl struggling to carry a stack of datapads. Her fur bristled with effort, tail twitching. Raya stepped beside her. Can I help? The girl looked up, startled. You're the human. I am, Raya replied. But I'm also someone who can hold a few datapads. Tentatively, the girl nodded. Raya took half the pile, light as foam. Where are these going? Lab 3, the girl said. Thank you. No problem. Raya smiled slightly. Happy to help. As they walked, the girl risked a glance. Are the rumors true? Raya sighed. Probably not. You didn't attack them? No. Then why is everyone scared? Raya paused, then answered softly, because fear spreads faster than truth. The girl fell silent, but her tail relaxed. At Lab 3, Raya handed over the datapads. Take care. The girl hesitated, then whispered, I'm glad you're here. Raya felt a small weight lift from her chest. Me too. That evening, she returned to her room, dim lights casting soft shadows across her desk. She opened her assignments, determined to salvage what remained of a ruined study day. Yet one thought lingered. She hadn't wanted to stand out. She hadn't wanted to hurt anyone. But the Academy now understood something she had spent her life hiding. Humans didn't seek conflict. They simply ended it fast. Raya closed her tablet and leaned back, letting the quiet settle. Whatever came next, she would face it calmly. Peace was still her goal. But now, the Academy finally understood why peace with humans was worth protecting. Raya woke before the morning lights brightened. A muted glow seeped through her room's curved window, the nebula outside swirling in slow ribbons of blue and violet. She lay still for a moment, listening to the faint hum of the station's life support systems. It was peaceful, far more peaceful than yesterday's interrogation. But beneath the quiet, she sensed a shift in the Academy's atmosphere, like the subtle drop in pressure before a storm. She dressed quickly and secured her hair behind her ear. When she stepped into the hallway, the usual rush of students slowed. Conversations tapered off. A few pretended not to stare, others didn't bother hiding it. Raya kept her steps even. Her goal was simple: reach her first class without turning the corridor into a spectacle. 3 young THRYNN moved aside abruptly, giving her a wider path than necessary. One whispered, "She's the one who." Raya cut a gentle smile. "Good morning." They stiffened, murmuring something close to relief. She continued on. As she neared the transit lifts, a familiar crystalline figure stood waiting, Jex Ren. His reflective body gleamed under the overhead lights, but unlike before, his stance lacked confrontation. His arms hung loosely, shoulders dipped, posture heavy with guilt. He stepped forward. "Human Ward." Raya paused. "Hello, Jex." He cleared his throat, which produced a resonant chime. "I came to apologize." "You don't have to," she said. "I do." His voice resonated low. "We thought we could intimidate you. We convinced ourselves you wouldn't fight back. We were wrong. The fault was ours, not yours." Raya regarded him carefully. There was no trace of arrogance, only sincerity. "I forgive you," she said. He blinked, surprised. "That easily?" No one was seriously hurt. And I wasn't trying to prove anything. Jex's crystalline jaw tightened. "You proved something anyway." Raya lowered her eyes. "I didn't want to." He inclined his head. "I know." Before he could say more, the lift arrived with a soft hiss. As he stepped in, he added, "If anyone bothers you again, tell me." Raya's lips lifted faintly. "I appreciate that." The doors closed between them. Inside the lecture hall, the mood differed sharply from the halls. Students packed the tiered seats, but no one sat close to her. Even the Marini girl she had helped yesterday hesitated before taking a spot 2 seats away. Professor Kether entered, his many legs tapping rhythmically as he activated the lesson's hologram. Yet he glanced at Raya twice, quick, assessing looks he tried to mask. "Before we begin," he said, "I must address yesterday's incident." The class stilled. Kether continued, "The Academy Council reviewed all evidence. Their conclusion is clear: Human Ward acted in justified self-defense. The matter is closed. No further discussion will occur in this classroom." A few murmurs rose, then faded. Raya kept her eyes on her tablet, grateful for the professor's directness. But she caught movement beside her, the Marini girl. She shifted closer by 1 seat, tail cautiously curled. Raya whispered, "You don't have to move." The girl gave a small shrug. "I want to." Raya nodded and focused on the lecture. The day proceeded without confrontation. Yet the silence felt heavy, like the entire academy was adjusting to a new gravity field. Students didn't just avoid provoking her, they avoided engaging entirely. Every polite step she took, every soft answer she gave, only deepened the strange distance forming between her and the rest. By midday, she sought refuge in the observation lounge, a circular balcony overlooking the nebula, often empty during lunch. She sat on a bench near the window, letting the swirling lights ease her mind. She wasn't alone for long. Footsteps approached, light and familiar. Raya glanced sideways to see Philyra, wings folded tightly, feathers dimmer than usual. The avian's posture trembled subtly. "Raya," Philyra said. Raya scooted slightly, inviting without words. "Are you feeling better?" Philyra's throat fluttered. "Not entirely. My equilibrium is off. The acoustic burst disoriented me longer than I expected." She lowered her head. "I'm not here to complain. I came to apologize." Raya met her eyes gently. Philyra flinched, then forced herself to steady. "I misjudged you," the avian continued. "I assumed your mind was hiding malice because I couldn't read it. But it wasn't malice. It was focus." "It wasn't personal," Raya said softly. "It should have been obvious," Philyra whispered. "Your thoughts weren't sharp or dark, they were quiet. Calm. Too calm for someone cornered." Raya looked back at the nebula. "Sometimes calm is the only thing I can control." Philyra perched beside her. "You didn't retaliate against me. Even after I tried to overwhelm your mind. I didn't want to hurt you." Philyra's feathers brightened a fraction. "Thank you." They sat in silence, the nebula's glow washing over them. Philyra left soon after, her wing beats softer than when she'd arrived. Later that afternoon, Raya returned to the student commons, hoping a quiet corner would help her finish her physics assignment. She rounded the corner and froze. Vornak stood alone near the water dispensers, shoulders slumped, scales dull. His usual confidence had drained, leaving a hollow fatigue. When he noticed her, he stiffened as if expecting retaliation. Raya approached with steady, non-threatening steps. "How are you, Vornak?" He swallowed. "Embarrassed." "You don't have to be." "I do," he said, voice rough. "I led that mess. I thought humans relied on exaggerated myths. I thought you were pretending." Raya folded her hands lightly behind her back. "I wasn't pretending anything. That's what makes this worse." Vornak rubbed his forehead. "I set you up expecting to win easily. Instead, I woke up on the ground with instructors staring at me like I detonated a plasma charge." Raya exhaled softly. "I never wanted to humiliate you." "I know." He looked away. "And that makes your strength more unsettling." Raya considered her words. "Strength isn't the same as hostility." Vornak's eyes widened slightly. Slowly, he nodded. "I'll stay out of your way." "I'd prefer if we didn't avoid each other," Raya said. "Just treat me normally." "That might take time," he admitted. "But I'll try. Trying is enough." Vornak straightened a little. "For what it's worth, you spared us. You didn't strike to harm. You struck to stop." Raya smiled faintly. "Stopping is better than hurting." Vornak didn't disagree. That evening, as she walked back through the atrium, a new message flashed across the public announcement board. Interspecies Orientation Update. Section 3, Cooperative Conduct with Deathworld Species. Mandatory for all students. Raya groaned quietly. "I didn't ask for this." The Marini girl from earlier trotted up beside her. "Maybe you didn't ask for it," she said, "but maybe the Academy finally learned something important." Raya raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "That humans aren't dangerous because they're strong." The girl smiled shyly. "They're dangerous because they try not to be." Raya paused, absorbing the words. Maybe the girl was right. Maybe the Academy wasn't afraid of her power. Maybe it feared what she could have done, and didn't. As lights dimmed into evening mode, Raya stepped toward her room. Another day awaited tomorrow. New classes, new eyes watching her, new chances to rebuild trust. She intended to meet them all the same way she had met every challenge so far, with patience, calm, and quiet capability. Because humans didn't chase conflict. Humans endured it. and sometimes, surviving gracefully was the strongest message of all.